You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens.
And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, it is officially Pride Month. It is a new month. It is June. And, I don't know what happened this weekend. Anything happened this weekend? Okay, I'm joking. You all went bananas, as I expected, with my special edition episode that I dropped this weekend. And, so much has went down. And I'm happy that we did that episode within its own chapter because, it's been so much since, Roots have put out a statement, mediocre statement at that. Questlove did put out a video, showing them putting the mulch. So that was what it was, mulch, not cow manure. I guess they might be the same thing, but I guess mulch is a more fancier way. And what do I know? I don't garden, but, showing them putting mulch out, trying to prevent the rain, all of that jazz. I did not go to day 2. Like I told you, I was not going to. Look, fool me once, right? But not a second. They said, oh, lines went faster, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I don't. Like, one and done. It sometimes, it's like, what happened to hospitality and consumer? The arrogance, the defensiveness, the blaseness, the gaslighting of all of this has just been horrendous. Seeing certain people get online and talk about, we need to be positive. This is the only festival we got, blah, blah, blah. Listen, remember when people said we want your feedback? I guess y'all were lying. I guess there's no democracy. Like, everyone's like, oh, be honest, keep it 100 with me. And then when people are keeping it 100 or being honest about something, then everyone goes into guilt tripping and blaming. Oh, it's Mother Nature. Oh, it's this, it's that. Ciao, bye. Like, we've been to music festivals before. If you're going to do a music festival, rain or shine, you got to be prepared for the rain or the shine, right? If it's too hot, you got to be prepared for hydration, right? If it's too wet, you got to be prepared for that. This is not rocket science. Like, this is the 18th year the Roots Picnic has been in existence. And it's just, I think this is a situation where greed and expansion has not even considered capacity and the means. Like, if you're going to charge people these prices, a lot needs to be there. And I think that's the problem. That if one of my good friends was like, they're charging, these really upscale prices now, but they have not upgraded their level of engagement. Like, if you're going to charge people $1,400 for gold VIP passes, $800 for silver VIP passes, then you need to actually provide people that. And there were some people that thought that it was just me, talking. I'm like, nah, child. I don't have a TikTok. Like, I'm not on TikTok. But baby, what I've seen from people sharing TikTok, listen, it was too many damn people there for y'all to try to act like, oh, it's just a couple of people saying something. Child, please. The Roots Picnic social media is in shambles. Their Instagram page is in shambles. People are heated. And they're trying so hard to change the narrative and rebrand, baby, you, please. And all the people that's like trying to be upbeat are like friends of these people, folks who got the backstage hookup. Child, listen, I know, I get it. I know what it is. I get it. But please, let the people speak. Let the people speak. I'm never going to let the people not chime in. Like, I might have had this experience. I'm not talking about Roots, because that's different. This was just not good. But I've had situations where I've went to a restaurant and I went to a grand opening of an event. I tried the food and my experience was great. It was good, right? But then I find out, when it was general access and the public can go and check it out, it wasn't doing that. And I just think we're in a place where influencers, clout chasers, friends of celebrities, whatever y'all want to call yourself, socialites, whatever it is, you gotta be real about what this shit really is. If you got a special VIP experience or somebody hooked you up or whatever, say that. Or just shut up. But don't discredit and dismiss or gaslight folks' experience. Okay? I was in that line for hours. You can't tell me what it was. Oh, don't call it the Fire Festival. That is this, that is that. Man, shut up. Y'all sit up there chilling with Dave Chappelle. Fuck out of here. Y'all sit up here and be around transphobes, homophobes, and misogynists. And I'm supposed to sit up here and have a level of compassion for a bunch of rich, wealthy-ass millionaires and rich folks that done put this together that's making bucks off of this? Like, I'm supposed to, that's how capitalism works, right? Y'all so badly want to be big honchos and execs. Like, at some point, you got to hold yourself accountable. And when there's no accountability, that's when I'm out here. All the excuses, all of the can we just acknowledge that all of that can be whatever it's going to be, true as it can be, but not recognize that there was a lack of compassion and preparation prior to that? Where are the logistics? Y'all would think that this is the first year. If this is their first year doing it, okay. But this is 18 times. You've been at this venue multiple times. We knew the rain was going to rain days in advance. We all knew this. So to act like folks was just like, come on. We fucked up. We're going to refund people for the first day. Simple. So it's, look, some people want to go out there and do that. That's fine. That's you. Some people want to go back next year. Have at it. To each their own. But I will, and I in good conscience, promote it. And I personally will not be going again. And I will not promote it. Other people, make your money. Get your coin. Do what you got to do. But that's way too much money for to be that level of incompetence. And you have had to have gone through it. And people be lying. Like, folks just lie. Folks just don't keep it 100 because everybody wants to be, amongst folks. I just feel like if you're not in a space where you can be honest and tell people the truth, then I don't want to be in that kind of relationship with anyone. I don't want to be in any partnerships, businesses, collaborations with people that I can't be honest to. Or, recognize that, hey, this is your doing. I'm going to let you be the adult and you do what you do. But people just want proximity to celebrity. People want proximity to whatever this fantasy of clout is. And the truth of the matter is, if it was so much wealth and clout in these circles, so many of you all would be so much far ahead if it was really that, if it was giving like that. I just know too much. I've seen too much. You can't tell me anything about some of this shit. Please, spare yourself. Been in the rooms, seen the people, seen the checks. The level of crumbs that people accept just to be in, right? To fit in. And then some of you all will say, oh, folks that are not a fan, they're mad because they can't get in. They mad because they didn't this, they didn't that. Oh, child. Please. Not this one, not me. Because I'm him and I know. And it's never, the level of crumbs are hilarious. There are some influencers that were paid by a brand that were situated at Roots Picnic. There were some people who were influencers that was compensated with passes and different things. I was not paid to go to the Roots Picnic. I was not, the Roots Picnic did not give me a VIP pass. Like, that was not the situation, my situation. In the past, last year, I went for the first time. I was given access through coverage as media as an editor for Eater Philly at the time. And so last year's festival was better. My experience was better, clearly. But the truth of the matter is that whether it rains, whether whatever, and it rained, I think, last year for a little bit, but things, did what they did. I just really think at the end of the day, with the way the economy is right now, all of this stuff going on, you just got to step it up. You can't continue to charge people crazy prices and then be shocked when they are upset about their experiences. But I digress. To each their own. So it's Pride Month. There's a lot going on right now. Philadelphia, of course, is doing a bunch of Pride stuff. After my experience on Saturday, I did a Pride brunch with some of my lit brothers. It was myself, Jamarcus, Gio. We had a good time. We had a cute brunch. We went to Harper's Garden, which I love Harper's Garden. It's always a good time. It was a great, experience. The brunch was brunching, and we had to recuperate and recover after what was a very chaotic experience. And so, that's all I did for my Pride Month kickoff. I didn't do too much because, honestly, I think myself and big crowds are going to take a break in 2025 unless it's something spectacular. I don't know. But like me and large crowds, like, I think my experience for Roots Picnic was enough for me to last me the rest of the year. I'm not doing any large crowds unless it's super curated. But like big crowd functions, yeah. I don't think it's me. And I think, you just got to be real with yourself about it, right? So, yeah, Pride parades, March, whatever. Didn't go to any of that. I'm gay. Y'all know I'm gay. I'm proud to be gay. Been gay for quite some time, child. I look, to the folks that went out and had the flags out and things, kudos to y'all. Like, but listen, I'm 33. I've been an adult for 15 years. So I've had 15 years of going to the parades and things. I didn't go when I was younger than that, but like around 18, 19, when I came to Philly, that's when I started going to a lot of the gay bars and things because I was of age. So most of my adult life, I've had very interesting Pride experiences, some good, some not so good. My experience with Pride Month, especially in Philadelphia, has always just been complicated because I just feel like it's so whitewashed. And it's just, yeah. But Pride is what you make of it. And I want to tell people that if you're in the community, Pride is what you make of it. Don't let anyone, rainbow capitalism your pride, okay? You don't got to buy a Pride t-shirt. You don't got to go to this festival. You don't got to go to DC. You ain't got to spend this. You ain't got to do that. It is what you make of it, child. Pride is what you make of it. How I choose to celebrate Pride now that I'm in my 30s is doing things with my queer Black friends that make us feel good. If that means going to brunch on June 1st, that's what it is. And that's a good time. But see, I feel like for me, Pride for me is 365 days a year. Like anytime the Lit Brothers get together, it is Black Pride for us. That is our time. But I understand community, right? I understand how important it is for some people that's what they need. And so everybody get what you can get from the experiences as you see fit, but don't feel obligated. And straight people, like, can y'all stop? Like, don't ask. Some of y'all be doing the most. Like, for us, it's like, oh, I'm surprised you're at the Pride parade. It's like, yeah, some of us just don't do that. And that's okay. We're still gay. You might need to, that's for you. It's like when when white folks be like, with black people, happy Black History Month, please don't do that. Listen, for you, these types of things are the things that you, like, I feel like cishet folks, the patriarchy, capitalism in this country makes people feel like they have to commodify experiences. Like there has to be a certain type of collection plate and pot that's for that. And I'm just like there has to be a day, a location. Like that's all capitalism, baby. Like the original Pride, as you all know, was a riot. And it was not about who had this t-shirt or who had this corporate, company come out with beads, who wore costumes and dyed their hair. Like it was not any of that. It was a fight. It was a reclamation for a right to live and exist. And when you're Black and you're queer, it's more. It doesn't get more telling than that, right? But I want to tell folks, specifically in Philadelphia and throughout our Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, some interesting information about why Pride still matters and what's still going on in Pennsylvania. Because a lot of y'all are like, y'all got y'all rights, y'all gay, y'all ain't got no problems, da da da. Let me tell y'all some fun facts, or not fun facts, but some very startling facts that I think you all should know for those who think that the fight is not over, or you think the fight is only for trans people. Because I've seen a lot of people think that LGBTQ is okay and the T is still struggling. Oh, no. Let's back this up. Pennsylvania remains the only state in the Northeast that does not offer its LGBTQ plus residents discrimination protections from being denied housing, jobs, education, and access to public accommodations. Okay? Statewide, we do not have those protections. With continued attacks against the LGBTQ plus rights at the state and federal level, Pennsylvania lawmakers are again trying to get the Fairness Act passed. This bill would extend anti-discrimination protections to people based on sex, sexual orientation, or gender expression. So it's important for y'all to know this, There's so many people that think that in certain areas, everybody's good. But that's not true. That's not true. At least 75 local and county governments, have adopted an LGBTQ plus inclusive non-discrimination ordinance. Now, that includes Philadelphia, right? And that's according to the Pennsylvania Youth Congress. However, that's not everybody. That's not a statewide protection. And I think people don't realize that if you relocate to a different county, I don't know, if you go to Lancaster, if you go to Elizabethtown or somewhere else in Pennsylvania, you could easily be discriminated and it will not be a lawsuit. There's no actual statewide protections. Individual municipalities and cities in Pennsylvania are protecting residents within that respective county. So in Philadelphia, we're in Philadelphia County. There is a fair practices ordinance that prevents LGBTQ discrimination. So for example, if I go to a bar or I want to get a cake made, right? In Philadelphia, if you tell me I don't want to make that gay cake or that cake that celebrates same-sex marriage or whatever the case is, that is discriminatory. You can get in trouble for that, right? In Philadelphia. But there are some counties in Pennsylvania that you could do that. And if the person feels hurt, disappointed, there's nothing that can be done to protect you. And you're looking like, well, what about federal laws? There are no federal protections for LGBTQ people on a federal level. Everything has to be done at the state or city level. In Pennsylvania, there is no statewide protections. But we're the only state in the Northeast that do not have statewide LGBTQ protections. Maryland does, okay? Delaware does. New York does. Maine. Massachusetts, right? Statewide protections. But there are no statewide protections in Pennsylvania. They're on a municipality basis. Did y'all know that? No, you probably didn't, because you look at major American cities and you say, oh, well, they got a pride, so they're good. But you don't even realize that we are so behind. So when people say things like Pennsylvania is a purple state or it's Pennsyltucky, that's what they mean. Because, yeah, there are a couple of parts that might be progressive in that department, but across the state, it's not there. So when y'all are wondering why does Pride matter, why we got to have a Pride Month and this and the third, because the fight continues. It still matters. And it still matters. So just want to put that there. So things that I liked, because clearly the Roots Picnic was not it. Honeysuckle went again this week. Let me just say this. Shout out to all of the pre-Roots gatherings. I feel like next year I will not go to the Roots Picnic, but anything leading up to Roots Picnic, any pre-parties, events, mixers, things like that, I will probably go to that, but I will not go to the festival itself. I will not do that. I will not put myself through those lines. There were some really good pre-Roots receptions and events, and I think that's why I was very disappointed, because this year I really went all out to really participate in a lot of things leading up to the actual picnic itself. So to go and be heartbroken was just a lot, you know what I mean? And so that was very telling. And I think we need, as a community, as a collective, that those pre-events, those are the ones. I had more fun. So I went to an incredible event by Chef Omar Tate, who is the co-owner along with his wife, Sybil, of Honeysuckle restaurant that is on Broad. It was a great time. Honeysuckle does not miss at all. I've been a fan since they were doing the pop-ups. Like, I go way back with them. Love them to death. Love them to pieces. Great people. So they had their first ever Open Studios event. And it was on Thursday. It was an artist talk with Omar and company. And basically, he had his latest piece, which is called Hot Sauce Is Thy Blood, which explores themes of migration and placemaking catalyzed by violence in the context of the Black American experience. It was incredible. He also, it's an experience, and they do it through Open Table, and they sell tickets for $100, and it includes past bites, a family-style meal, and they also have beverages, and they're going to have more Open Studios events. So this was a kickoff that they had for this event, and it was fabulous. It was a great time, and I went with friends, and we had a blast. And that was the first one they had. He made fried chicken. There was collard greens and yams and this hot sauce that was incredible and so memorable. It was just a good time. I mean, they had the deviled eggs out. They just had it was just so good. Everything was good. They had the black bean hummus. It was a great time. I truly enjoyed myself. It was very cultured. It was very enlightening. It was a really fun time and a great experience. And so if you have a chance to go out to the Open Tables by Honeysuckle restaurant, please grab a ticket. For those who struggle to get a reservation, because I know a lot of they're getting. I mean, it's a hot ticket right now, and I was so happy to go the first opening weekend of Honeysuckle, and it was fabulous. And I wanted to go back, and this was an easy way to get there. So open sessions, those open studios, if you go to Open Table for those events, follow them on their Instagram page. They constantly promote it, but that was the first one they just had. So a lot of you all was looking at my IG story, looking at the pictures and all the stuff, and saw the menu. That was really great. It was phenomenal. My second great event I went with was Mr. Johnson, the Lip Brothers. We all went to Elkins Park. Farmer John had a collaboration dinner, and I think they're going to do a dinner. She's going to start doing this dinner series, but right now, this was like the first big one. And she collaborated with Charles Pan Fried Chicken. I cannot stop praising this. If you all listened to my special edition episode where I talked about the Roots Picnic experience, right? I said one of the best things about that entire festival was that platter, okay? That fried chicken platter. Well, I went and had them with Farmer John earlier that week on Friday, and I cannot get enough of this chicken. I want them to come to Philly, but then I don't want them to come to Philly because I feel like I don't know if we'll ruin it, but they're based in Harlem, and that chicken is good. I know y'all talk about Sylvia's and all these other places, and that might be great too, or whatever, Peaches and all that. But that Charles Pan Fried Chicken is something different, and it was incredible. And they had that $20 platter, and listen, there were folks who told me that they were going to Roots Picnic day 2 because they missed it the first time. They were going to go to have that plate. If anything, y'all, the food vendors were doing their big one. That platter, it did everything I needed to do. It was a great price point. Still thinking about it. But I went to the Farmer John dinner, and it was in collaborations with them, and they did a whole 6-course meal situation there. It was a beautiful, gorgeous, Black love fest. I mean, everything about it was just a love fest of just good food, good culinary vibes. I mean, it was immaculate. It was a great event. And, as you all know, Farmer John is a Black farmer, for the culture, agriculture for the culture. Great event. She's incredible. Love her down. I just went on one of her tours that she do around Westchester over there near Cheney University, which, I used to be a professor there. Cheney is the nation's first HBCU. The first. Everybody keeps talking about Lincoln. Lincoln was the first to give out degrees. The first to give out degrees. But not the first HBCU. Just want to put that out there. So she does these weekend trips. Every Saturday, there is a bus. I think the passes are like $10, I believe. But you get a round trip bus trip to the farm. You get a tour of the farm. And you also get a special discount vouchers to go shop at the farmstead, like the little farmer's market that's connected to it. And they have some of the best produce from the farm and other great locally sourced fruits and veggies and ice creams and candles and all types of great stuff. It is one of my new favorite experiences, and I highly recommend it as well. And for those who listen to my podcast on a regular basis, I'm always promoting great events and opportunities and experiences. I just don't rag and drag because some of the girls are like, so negative. Oh, shut up. Let me tell y'all something. 90% of my podcast, I promote things that I think people should go to. I rarely talk about things I don't like, but sometimes something can be so atrocious that you just have to warn people. And so this was one of those experiences that I just could not be silent about. And clearly the episode is going viral. Hundreds upon hundreds of you all have been listening to it and spreading the word. Some of you are new subscribers. And for all my new subscribers, I love y'all. And thank you all for, joining, being an Ernest fan and listening to it and being a part of the new core of the followers. So I appreciate it, and welcome to the podcast. But yeah, I really did enjoy my experience with Farmer John. Again, you can check out her website and check out all the great things that she's doing. But that event was great. This weekend, outside of the Roots Picnic, was pretty good, pretty tame. Little Brothers had a good time. We just really made the best of it. And we're excited about June. June, it's one of my favorite months in the year. There's some big things happening in June. Some big business, some long overdue news that I'm excited to share. The anticipation is building, and I have a strong sense that the news will be coming very soon. It will be this month, but something that I'm dry hinting here, and some of y'all might pick up. Some of y'all who follow, y'all know what I'm talking about. There was something that I kind of hyped up and it got quiet about for a period of time, and then it ramped up, and now could not be the best time to drop this news. And it's long overdue. I won't tell y'all the time span of in the making, because then I will actually tell y'all what it is, and I don't want to tell you all just yet. But some of y'all might already know what I'm talking about. But it is coming, and I just can't wait to share this news. And when it drops, you're going to be like, oh, finally. So there is a finally here. But don't ask me for no guesses. I will not tell you. I won't confirm nor deny. You could be right, you could be wrong. Everything is just going to get a to it or something. But I will not confirm nor deny what the announcement is and what the surprise is. But what I will say is that it is long overdue, and I'm excited. And it's something that a lot of you all have been wanting, that you asked me. Well, it's something familiar, but something new. Okay, let me shut up, because I was about to, let me just be quiet. News is coming very soon. Stay tuned. And let's get into these hot topics. So Trump has been pardoning a lot of folks, a lot of black folks. And some of you all have been, once again, drinking the Kool-Aid about this work. It is a cynical ploy, as some people have described it as, right? This past week, Trump issued like about 24 presidential pardons to a lot of folks who've done some crazy shit, right? Shady politicians, CEOs, some really wealthy folks that did some shit they shouldn't have been doing. And some of the people that were on the list that got y'all excited, right, was that Louisiana rapper NBA Youngboy, whose real name is Kentrell Gaudin. And of course, because I was born in Chicago, grew up knowing his name, okay, when I was young. Chicago gangster, okay? Larry Hoover, okay? A lot of y'all got excited about Larry Hoover and about this, right? And this has happened before. We've seen hip-hop show up for Trump, right? Snoop Dogg and Nelly, 5 Foreign, Kodak Black. I mean, the list goes on. Amber Rose, for what it's worth. Kanye West, 50 Cent, Lil Wayne. A lot of people in hip-hop has been playing around. I need y'all to wake up here, because this does nothing for black men as a collective, okay? This does not, okay? Trump doing this is a distraction. It does nothing for black men. Black men are the nation's most unemployed demographic. There are more black men that are unemployed than any other demographic in this country, okay? Black women, I mean, let's not even talk about the onslaught of disrespect that black women have faced, right? These are real issues, right? We're talking about maternal deaths. We're talking about access to resources, police, right? Like the state of policing in this country. These are issues that impact us. So these pardons mean nothing, okay? There are some people that's trying to act like it means something. But let me back up real quick. For those who want to know about the Larry Hoover thing specifically, let me back up. So with NBA Youngboy, right, he was convicted on some gun-related charges and was only sentenced to less than 2 years in prison. He had already been released, and this pardon means that he won't have to go through probation conditions. Like, they didn't free NBA Youngboy. He was already released, y'all. Like, the pardon is pretty much just basically not making him go through probation conditions, which is a big deal, right? Because probation is oftentimes people who go through probation, if they make one mistake, it can put them in. It's a trap, right? So to some extent, yeah, the probation aspects is there, but let's be clear. Nobody's letting NBA Youngboy out. He already served. It was under 2 years. It was related to a gun charge. It is what it is, right? But talking about Larry Hoover specifically, Trump granted him a commutation on his federal prison sentence. Okay? This man was serving 6 life sentences on conspiracy, extortion, drugs, and other stuff. He is 74 years old. He will not be coming home because he is currently on the hook for murder in the state of Illinois. And that was a conviction that came with a hefty 200-year jail term. There are writers like Tayu Barrow from The Guardian who has been speaking on this, showed a really good op-ed for the Guardian that is a really good read that really breaks this down in depth. What I want you all to understand is that Larry Hoover is not coming home. He's not. So for all of you social justice advocates, you prison abolitionists, listen. Larry Hoover's not coming home. And NBA YoungBoy was already home, baby. So Trump's pardons for these two black men are virtually worthless. They literally do not make much of an impact. They don't. Okay? These are just stunts. Okay? Stunts. And we just got to wake up as black people and just as people in general, right? Folks that are anti-Trump and never mega folk, I want you all to have a level of true accountability. Okay? Just wake up. Stop drinking the hype. Please don't. Please don't. Please don't. Never again. Never again. So, I just wanted to put that out there. I just wanted to because I see a lot of people that every time Trump does something that you think is cute or something nice for black people, then y'all go, what now? Nothing now. There's nothing now. A broken clock can be right twice a day. And even this is not even a broken clock or being right a day. This doesn't mean anything. This is nothing. This means nothing. So that's what I think. And every single time he throws out these little dog biscuits, some of y'all get real hype. Is that, look at Trump. Look what Trump did. Like, yeah, we just got to stop, you know? In other news, DOGE, it's gone. It's gone. Not Trump. Let me back up. Elon Musk has officially left DOGE. It's official. He is not there anymore. He's not there. There's a weird relationship going on between, Trump and Elon that is weird. In interviews, there's been a lot going on right now. Elon Musk spent $288 million to elect Trump and his allies. They start off really well, but at a certain point, we saw the rise and fall of DOGE, DOGE, or whatever they want to call it, the Department of Government Efficiency. 250,000 workers, y'all, were fired or brought out. There was multiple slashing of grants and staffing at environmental agencies like the EPA, NOAA, and more, and people who were trying to do work around warning about climate change. There was a lot. And Tesla suffered, okay? Elon Musk's net worth dropped about $100 billion. The Tesla profits plummeted by 71%. There was a lot. And in interviews now, Elon is trying so much to, kind of distance himself. I think he's struggling right now between supporting Trump and criticizing Trump. He did admit that the DOGE, and to the press, he's telling people that trying to do this DOGE thing did give him a black eye. He had one on Friday, which he said he got from his 5-year-old son. No comment there. But it's obvious that this was a failure. And we knew it was a failure. And it's funny because if I ever go back on Tommy Lauren's show, which she wants me to come back on, I do want to go back and say last time I did an interview with her, she was so optimistic and protective of Elon Musk and the whole DOGE thing. And at this point, I gotta see her again and say, girl, I told you that wasn't gonna last long, right? I told y'all that wasn't gonna last long. I told y'all that wasn't going to last long. I knew that the Trump-Musk relationship, it's too many egos, right? You got two billionaires in the same room. Both of them think they're running the country, okay? Neither one of them really are. But at least Trump is, quote unquote, an elected president. If you can see my facial reaction saying that. But still, he was elected. I can't get to a place of like understanding that whoever thought that these two were going to get along. Even JD Vance, right? JD Vance has found a lane which doesn't really seem to really exist, but he seems to just be like on the offskirts. Like he's kind of like Mike Pence Jr., where you don't really see him. You know he exists, but you sometimes wonder where he's at. And a lot of people try to say that about Kamala, like former Vice President Kamala Harris. It was always, where's Kamala? And I feel like we see more Kamala. We saw more Vice President Harris than we have seen JD Vance. And last time we saw JD Vance, I mean, notoriously was, he saw the Pope before he died. Just saying. Yeah, there's a lot here. There's a lot to process here. But here we are. Here we are. That is the current state, So moving on to Biden. There's a lot of talk about Biden. Biden has been in the news. Biden won't stop talking. And I get some of his reasons for talking, but then sometimes I'm just kind of like, who's telling you to talk? Why are you still here? Why are we still talking? Why are we still doing this? Why are we going through this emotional lap of a conversation debate? He's being defensive. He's trying to say that if he would have still ran, he would have beat Trump. And sometimes it's time to tell people enough. Now, Original Sin was terrible, and Biden's cancer diagnosis is heartbreaking, and I want him to have the peace. I want him to heal. Cancer is nothing for the meek. It's nothing that, it's a traumatic thing, right? Fuck cancer. But I think what Biden needs to do right now is focus on his health and his wellness. Be surrounded by people that love him and care about him. And just take yourself away from the daily political BS. What's kind of sad about this situation is that Biden has lived a life of trauma from the moment he entered politics. I mean, he's lost his first wife. He's lost children. He's had a lot of just horrible experiences throughout his entire life. What looks like the sunset is coming soon, right? I want him to just spend his time out of the public spotlight. Somebody we don't hear much from, and I do enjoy that? Bush. Bush isn't sick we don't know if Bush is sick or not or anything like that. But George W. Bush is somebody who recognized that he was a hot mess. And when I tell you this man does not really go anywhere, you catch him at a presidential funeral, but this man does not want any attention, child. He likes to paint his pictures. He lives a very low-key life. Okay? Now, Clinton and Obama everywhere. Okay? The Obamas, listen, Obama be everywhere. Okay? He's still out here. Sometimes a little annoying, but overall, a lot more likable than some of these other options we have, right? But Bush is like, look, Bush is alive, but Bush don't want no parts of it, okay? Clinton is falling back a little bit. Bill Clinton don't really do too much talking, as he should. Because I think as we begin to revisit his history, we realize that Clinton was, listen, I was a baby when Clinton was president, so y'all can't hold that against me. Literally, y'all, I was born in 91, okay? So the Clinton years, I don't know much about them. All I can remember vaguely in my childhood was several things about Clinton. I remember Clinton could play the saxophone. And I remember being little and seeing clips of him with a saxophone. That I remember. I remember he could play a saxophone very well. I remember a Simpsons episode I think he spoke or narrated and he was on. I remember that he was married to Hillary Clinton. And, of course, Monica Lewinsky. That's all I remember about Bill Clinton when I was little. I don't know anything about the Defense of Marriage Bill. Oh, and that line. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Remember, I was born in 1991, so you have to give me a little bit of grace. I couldn't tell you too much about Bill Clinton. I do also remember, I do remember this, that Black people, including people in my family, described him as America's Black president. That's how much they liked Bill Clinton, okay? They treated Bill Clinton as if he was the closest to a Black president until we had Obama. That's what I remember. Like, when you want to talk about Vanilla Ice, Bill Clinton was the original. Like, Bill Clinton was the original, I don't even know, Macklemore. I can't even say Macklemore. He was the original Eminem. Like, before there was Eminem, there was Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was the white guy that Black folks ran towards and protected and held down and aligned themselves with, like the way that we see white folks get into like HBCUs or like they join Divine Nine, Black Greek letter organizations. Like, there's a white Q, there's a white Kappa. He was a Sam Whiteout before Sam Whiteout existed. Okay, for those who know that white Kappa named Sam Whiteout, child. And I knew him because Delta Eta chapter of Kappas was a combination of Penn's campus, Drexel, and other universities. So that was like the Penn Kappa chapter. He did not go to Penn, but he was a part of that chapter. So when I used to go to the Kappa parties and all those events and stuff when I was an undergrad, he used to be in there shimmying and things. I know the boy. Not really a fan, but definitely remember that, right? And there's a culture where we don't talk enough about this idea. This was the era of inviting white folks to the cookout, and that kind of culture where we give people this space and then we don't realize what happens about it, and I think we get to a point where people censor themselves, and talk about it. So, yeah. Fun fact, I wrote a piece in the Daily Beast that came out in November of 2018. Not for the Daily Beast. I'm sorry, for the Griot. It was called Black Men Invited Sam Whiteout to the Cookout and They're to Blame for Him Taking Up Space. And this was actually his name. That's the name he goes by, is Sam. I think his name is Sam White, but he goes by Sam Whiteout. And pretty much he wrote this article. He claims he's a white ally, right? But he wrote in an academic journal, and it was called Popularizing Wokeness. And it was published in the Harvard Kennedy School Journal of African American Public Policy. It was a 5-page article, which I described at the time was essentially the China teapot calling the glass of milk white. It was a lot. And I went in on it and wrote about it. Yeah, it was a lot going on. And so at the time I wrote about this and talked about how he was given a platform. That was the same way with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was the guy who got invited to the cookout. And mind you, no one really talked about the crime bill. There were people who talked about the crime bill, but he kind of just skated during that phase because everything else he was doing for middle class and upper middle class Black people benefited financially. I mean, my parents, they have no qualms about, the Clinton era. But I digress. He's been laying low key though, because history has began to see the consequences of things that Clinton had did. And also the folks that co-signed, because Black folks did co-sign the crime bill. Not all Black people did, mind you, but there were a lot of prominent Black people that support the crime bill that happened. So this was before me. It was what it was. But yeah. If I was Biden, I would just fall back. I just, Biden's going through a lot. Just fall back. I think we're at a point where everybody just needs to take a chill pill and fall back. And I'll leave it at that. I'll keep it there. So with local politics, I feel like Philly right now is having a political identity crisis. I don't really know too much about what people stand for, where people's focus is. I will say the Working Families Party is maybe the exception. I think Nick and Kendra, and that's Nicholas O'Rourke and Kendra Brooks, they are city council members at large for the Working Families Party. They now hold the minority seat outside. They now outnumber Republicans, literally 2-1. And they are the minority. They hold the minority seat in city council right now. And I think they will for quite some time. So I think that they are very clear on their politics. I think that the way that they have voted consistently, their identity, the things that they advocate for, the policies that they push is very aligned with their ideas and their agenda. I think Working Families Party in Philadelphia is very clear on their agenda and their identity. I think that's solid, at least in what we see at City Council. However, everything else just seems to be a bunch of confusion. And for example, look, Isaiah Thomas, driving equality is his signature bill. That will be something that people are going to remember. But now I just feel like I don't know what he's focused on. He's been doing a lot of very bubbly, very flashy things. For example, he's been big on the city readiness and preparing the city for 2026, which, to be honest, he jumped on that bandwagon late, and he's trying to carry it in a way that sometimes I do feel steps on the toes of the Parker administration. But to be honest, he's not really a big Sherelle Parker fan. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but he's really not a Sherelle Parker fan. I'm just looking at what I see. I mean, there's no special intel or tea that I can spill, but it's obvious that throughout the political history, if you pay attention, before Sherelle Parker was the mayor of the city, Isaiah and her camp, they were not in bed with each other. And for a lot of reasons. Politically, they were not. The type of people that she was supporting and endorsed were not the same people he was supporting and endorsed. They have to get along. And it's very obvious that Isaiah wants to be Philly's next mayor. I'm not saying the next mayor as in he's going to go against her for a second term. It's obvious that Sherelle Parker will be running for re-election, and it's most likely she's going to win. No mayoral incumbent in the modern political era has lost re-election. Even Wilson Goode, after dropping a bomb on his own civilians, after authorizing a bomb being dropped in that disaster, Philadelphians still turned around and voted for him again. Rizzo got reelected. This city, Kenny got reelected. I mean, for good or bad, right? They're not going to, as much as people complain about mayors in Philadelphia, if you run for reelection in this city, you will get it if you're a mayor. Even city council people who do not deserve to be reelected get reelected time and time again until they age out or something. This is a city that once you get in, you kind of stay in unless, you kind of get... Let me just say this. The feds have a higher removal rate than voters in Philadelphia. If somebody's criminally indicted or convicted, the feds have a better shot at getting them. Now, do they get everyone out? No, because clearly Teflon, Kenyatta, talking about Kenyatta Johnson, Teflon KJ, right? He beat the case, okay? He did not get convicted. He was indicted, but he didn't get convicted, right? That was a rarity. He's one of the few. Larry Farnese was indicted when he was a state rep. He beat the cases. He beat the charges. Now he is about to be a judge. Larry Farnese, back in politics, now a judge. So this is how Philly politics works. Bobby Heenan, was had to get kicked out. If he ran for re-election, Bobby Heenan would have won. I believe it. I mean, look at Sheriff Rochelle Bilal. Sheriff Rochelle Bilal has all of this bad press, consistently a dark cloud covering her office. Reelected. So Philadelphians are notorious for complaining about things and still sticking with them. That is a symptom of our current political atmosphere. People complaining, but not doing anything differently. See, because I am not a native to Philadelphia, but I'm a longtime Philadelphian. Let me be clear. 15 years, baby, okay? Some people, let me be quiet. Let me be quiet. But some people like to pull that, oh, I'm not, I'm a native, as if that sometimes that matters and sometimes it is not. BS is BS. BS is BS. I'm not the reason why you don't have a job. Because my jobs are not local, hyper local. Most of my jobs are not hyper local. And to be honest, most of the opportunities and jobs that people would want, let me just add that there a lot of people couldn't even get them. Just saying. It's a lot of people who just sit back and play the game. Play the game. They play the game. They play the game. So, I've seen enough. I know too much. And I just want people to be better. I want better for people. And yeah. That's what I will say on that front. But when it comes to political identity, I think one of the things that I've noticed in the past couple of weeks, because the budget is the budget, right? Right now, for those who are keeping score with the budget, Sherelle Parker's big $800 million plan to invest in affordable living, it looks like it's going to go through. However, there was an amendment from City Council asking for oversight, which they're going to have. So there will be oversight on how that $800 million is going to be spent. They want to track and monitor that, but pretty much they're going to let that go through. So the budget is going to go up for a vote very soon. It will be up for a vote in the next week or so. And when that happens, I don't know what it's going to mean. I think people are excited, right? They want there to be a vote to get it done with. But this year's budget overall, I don't feel like had a lot of gusto. I mean, the $800 million for affordable housing, sure, but there's just not a lot of excitement this budget. It's not. And, so I'm gonna leave it at that. The more that you know, the more that you grow. I just want you all to pay very close attention to city council members and what they're proposing. There is a lot of proclamations. There's a lot of celebratory shit. There is just a lot of just, yay, smile, media traction. But when you're looking at the core of these bills, if you're looking at the substance of these bills, it's not giving, y'all. It's not giving. It's not. And going to city council every Thursday at these sessions and seeing how they're, how they're stressed out, please. I'll just leave it at that. That's all. So this week's Ask Ernest, you all asked me about, I was going to talk about Roots Picnic. That was the top one, but you all can go back and listen to that special edition episode. But there was something else that I talked about a couple of weeks ago, and you all keep reminding me to talk about it. And I was planning to talk about it this week, and so here we are. So a couple of weeks ago, I talked about how some people are not in community, but their dicks are in community. And, that was politically incorrect, but let me provide some more clarity and nuance to that. So what I mean by people's dicks be in community, but they don't be in community, is that this is let me say this could be a metaphor for a lot of conversations around community allyship, accomplices, all of that. There's a lot of how do I put this? There's a lot of what I'm going to say about the LGBTQ community that can resonate in other types of communities. So hear me when I say that before I get in, that you can apply this to various communities and others that are operating within those communities on what I'm about to say. So let me be very clear. I don't go through the business of questioning people's queerness or gayness or bisexuality or whatever. I'm not in that business. If a person identifies as being a part of the LGBTQIA community, and to spell that out, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual community, that is their prerogative. I'm not going to tell a person that you got to have this many same gender bodies to be gay, or you're not really bisexual if you end up dating some of the opposite sex, even though you have had queer. I'm not in that business. I'm not going to go there. That's not what this is about. But about what it means to be in the community versus being of an identity, right? And so when I say being in community, it's about respecting everyone within that community, respecting people who are bisexual, respecting people who are transgender, respecting lesbians, respecting other folks, right? And even within that community, respecting the intersections of that community, meaning that if you are a white gay man, but you are being hostile and racist and misogynistic to lesbians and being racist to black and brown queer people, then you're not really being in community, okay? I'm not saying you're not gay, because you are who you are, but you're not in community. Because to be in community is to be able to respect the individual identities within this community, to be inclusive of them, to respect them. So when I hear gay people say, oh, I don't use those pronouns, who cares about pronouns? Listen, first of all, the pronouns is bullshit. Everybody been respecting pronouns in different ways, okay? People been respecting titles, right? If a person has a doctorate, you say Dr. So-and-so. You say Mr., you say Miss. Let's not act like we don't know how to use proper titles in addressing people, okay? Your Honor, Your Grace, Your Majesty. How you doing, King? We use proper terms. We know how to properly address people. So let's not act like pronouns become crazy. If a person comes up to you and they say, my name is so-and-so, I use they, them pronouns, just use the pronouns. And here's the thing, if you cannot use the pronouns, a good pro tip for people who just, get tongue-tied, use their name. That used to be my beginning. Like back in the day, I couldn't sometimes, using pronouns, sometimes I would just make a mistake. I think people can respect that if you are clearly making an attempt, right? But my best rule of thumb was just to consistently say the name. So I would say to the server, hey, David would like a drink, rather than give him a drink. I would just say their name. And that was a way of identifying them in ways that if the they, them would slip me, I would just use the name. Because however you want to be called, what is your name? Everyone has a name, right? So that was how I would do that, if just to not trip myself off. So, knowing a person's name would be great, right? No, remember their name. So I was at an event recently and somebody who was there used they, them pronouns, and I've gotten a little good at it, but sometimes mentally it can get a little hard. So what I would do is I would just refer by their name. I was like, so-and-so would like a glass of water. Who? Give it to her? No. Give it to so-and-so. They use they, them pronouns. Give it to so-and-so. That's how I would do that so that people would not get confused. But we could do that. We could do that. We could work towards that. And to be honest, most of you all will not be meeting people who use different pronouns often unless you are really working in youth spaces or very LGBTQ centered spaces. Most of the time, you might encounter only a handful of people that are using different pronouns unless you're working in specific, community spaces or youth spaces or LGBTQ centered spaces. But in your everyday life, you're not going to be encountering that many people who use different pronouns. So when I hear people complain and act like it's a mission impossible, it's not, okay? But beyond that, we're talking about policies, right? As a gay man, I know that when they attack different people in this community, that attack comes my direction. When I've seen people on the internet make transphobic remarks, 5 seconds later, they get into homophobic remarks. There's no distinction to a cishet homophobe. So to all of my straight male friends, my gay male friends who are not, who do not identify as transgender or anything of that nature, or queer or whatever, please understand that if you're around people who are transphobic or want to ban trans people or hate on trans people, whatever like that, please understand that they don't like your ass either. Because I have seen very transphobic posts go up, and I look very carefully at what they're saying, and they're making attacks on all types of people beyond just those who are trans. They're throwing shots at queer men who might be effeminate. They are making shots towards, gay people, because they really think we're all the same. They don't know the difference. They don't know the difference. There are people I've encountered that are homophobic who say trash shit in my DMs sometimes. I just simply block and move on, but will confuse me as being transgender because I have a Telfar bag, because I get my nails done. They will assume, oh, I'm trans, or I want to be a woman, because they have subscribed getting your nails done or getting your nails painted to being a woman. That they have prescribed the fact that, oh, if you have a bag, if you have a purse or whatever you might want to call it, a satchel, whatever it is, that is what women have. They've dictated gender norms. And let me be very clear that, when I think about the Jess Hilariouses of the world, who's a clown, mind you, that want to be obsessed with saying, oh, only women can have babies. Only women can have babies. It's like, why are you so obsessed? What has transgender people done to you? Girl, fuck away, fuck off. We got to recognize the difference between sex and gender, sexual orientation and all of it. And I used to go deep, but I'm going to keep this very brief. If you're still conflating gender identity with sexual orientation and sex, you've done it wrong. Okay? If you're conflating these things. Every man that might express themselves femininely or hypermasculinely, you do not know their sexual orientation based on how they express their gender. You cannot. You will not. Sexual orientation and gender expression. So what I mean by gender expression is how an individual expresses what they believe to be their identity, right? So gender expression might land in people making assumptions and stereotypes. Gender expression is how people choose to express their own self and their own identity. I identify myself as a male. That is how I identify. That's my gender identity. I identify as a male. How I express my gender, however, is very different than what people have prescribed or stereotyped a male to be. My gender expression is very queer. It's very fluid. Because I don't necessarily subscribe to what a cisgender male expression might be to some people, right? Do I wear dresses? No, I don't. But do I get my nails done? Yes. Do I like to wear lip gloss sometimes? Sure. Do I wear makeup? No. A lot of y'all think I do because of my skincare. I don't. But do I subscribe to what you all think a straight male looks like or dressed like? No. I'm going to wear me a Telfar bag. I like my bag. You want to call it a purse? You can call it a purse. You want to call it a merce? You can call it whatever you want to call it. I don't care. I like what I like. I like my style. It's how I express myself. I like a good bag. I do. I like to get my nails done. I like to get some color on them. I do. But does that mean I want to be a woman? No. I don't. I don't want to be a woman. I don't want to go through a gender change, a sex change. I don't have any interest in that. That's not for me. I'm not judging other people's experiences because I understand that people who are transgender, several of them go through what is called gender dysphoria, where they truly feel that they're not in the body that they were born in. And that this is a scientific, psychological, research-based experience that people have that. I don't have gender dysphoria. I'm not confused. I don't feel like I'm in the wrong body. I'm very much so as comfortable in the skin and the body that I'm in. Some people don't have that experience, to which leads them to want to transition and identify in the gender that they feel comfortable in. I'm comfortable being a man. I'm comfortable identifying as a man. How I express my masculinity is very different from how others do. And these expressions do not justify nor explain other aspects of my being. I know cisgender men who identify as straight, right? That are heterosexual, that get their nails done too. And I don't think they're gay. I don't question them. I don't say they're sus. You see Dwayne Wade. Love him. What a great dad. Okay? He has a transgender daughter named Zaya. She's now, I believe, 18. The way that he loves his daughter, he supports her, he protects her, is admirable. Dwayne Wade gets his nails done now, you know? Sometimes I look at his nails, I'm like, that looks good on you. He is a cishet man. He is married to a beautiful woman, Gabrielle Union, and they are loving their children and they're accepting their children. And not accepting. I don't think that's the word. No. They're embracing their daughter. They're embracing their child because at the end of the day, they know that who their child is who they were meant to be. And that's what it means to be in community, is accepting people, embracing people, accepting just, I'm over the word accepting. I think accepting is just the bare minimum to me. Tolerating may be the bare, but accepting is like so basic. Like, do you understand what that means? Like, I accept you. Okay. I don't need your permission, right? But what does it mean to embrace people? I feel like if you say you accept somebody, it's the bare minimum. And that's okay if you really are just somebody who just, for whatever reason, it's just people being who they are just makes you so uncomfortable that you have to decide whether you accept it or not. It's privilege. It's such privilege, right? Because I don't walk around telling straight people, I accept you. Like, such a double standard, right? Accepting people. Like, what does that even mean? Like, I mean, it's one thing to accept people's for like accepting bullshit, but like a person's accept. Can you imagine some person? I accept you for being a black person. Like, I accept you for being a woman. Like, we're accepting women. Like, that's just speaking to a level of male privilege and patriarchy that is just asinine to me. Do we actually think when we use our words? Accept me for being the human that I am. That's crazy. So, yeah, I think it's about embracing. I think I'm beyond accepting. I don't want people to accept me. I want people to embrace me. And if you accept me, that's like the bare minimum, and that's fine. But you can't call yourself family or friends to me if you say you accept me. You have to embrace me because I embrace you. Anyone who I consider family and friends, people that I trust, I embrace them for who they are, right? If who they are is not causing me any harm, right? If you're a criminal and you're an abuser, no, I don't accept you. No, I don't accept that, right? I'm not going to embrace an abuser. I'm not going to embrace a liar, a manipulator, right? But why are we putting queerness in a category as if it's a crime or something deplorable? So acceptance just is not it for me anymore. Embracing people, loving them. Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union does not accept Zaya. They embrace Zaya. We're past the accepting point at this point. It's about embracing people. Letting me live does nothing for me. And I think there's people out here who are like, oh, I could have cussed you out. I could have hit you because you was gay. Yeah, that's fucked up. Okay, so you decided to be a human today and simply not disrespect another human being. That's the bare level. And guess what? We'll take that. But you don't get to be called an ally or an accomplice or anything else. You don't get any flowers for accepting people. Just go about your fucking day. Like I am every day, right? It's about embracing people. We got to embrace people. And if you don't embrace people, then yes, you're a homophobe. You're a transphobe. And let me be clear. People think that homophobia and transphobia means a utter, total hatred. It's not. It is an aversion, actually. It's an aversion where you're like grossed out. You're uncomfortable. The uncomfortable. If being around gay people makes you uncomfortable, that's homophobic. If being around transgender people make you uncomfortable, you are a transphobe. And I think people don't want to acknowledge what they are. Let's call a thing a thing. It's not about hatred. It's about an aversion. Why are you uncomfortable? Why? Why does that make you uncomfortable? Why does being around gay people make you uncomfortable? Why? Being around straight people don't make me uncomfortable. It only makes me uncomfortable when you all get really weird. And what I mean by weird is when you get hyper, you touch people, you violate spaces. Let's be very clear. The person's sexual orientation is not what's making me uncomfortable. What's making me uncomfortable is the actual thing that they might do to me that poses a barrier. I am not uncomfortable around straight people. I'm only uncomfortable around straight people when straight people actually violate my actual space. And for that has nothing to do with their sexual orientation. It has all to do with who they are as a person. And so I don't want to create stereotypes. I'm not making a stereotype. I don't think straight people are just directly harmful. I think that straight people can be hyper homophobic and in subtle ways. Ways in which, okay, you're kissing your girlfriend and you're a dude. And then the moment a gay person around you kisses, you say, no, Not too much. Homophobic. Why? Why do I not be able to kiss my man? Why can I not do that around y'all? Oh, people holding hands. And you want to back the fuck away. What, you think something's wrong? What's up with that, right? Like, to me, we don't talk enough about aversion. Because the hate crimes are real, right? The slurs are real, right? But this is not it. And so when we talk about acceptance and embracing and things, there are levels to this. And so I can't tell you how many straight people are around me that I have to work with, have to be in networking spaces that don't really realize how homophobic they are. And they think that because they have gay siblings and friends, quote unquote, friends, that they think that they're still not homophobic. But when you have to put a pause on every single thing, and now I tease people with the pause thing. Like, oh, I don't want, like, what, like, do you understand how weird it is to do that? Like, pause. Like, as if it's a punchline, a joke. Our experiences, our desires is used as a punchline to make jokes. So now I make the jokes back just to make folks realize how stupid they sound. But there is so much subtle homophobia in our everyday world that people don't even realize it. Like, just like racism, right? This is the same shit. When white people are racist, they'll say, black folks will, and black and brown people will name it, and they'll go, no, stop making everything about racism. I don't have a problem. I got a black friend. It's like, y'all, it's not about whether or not you say the N-word or not. It's not whether or not you say the F word or not, y'all. It's not about whether or not you go out your way to say, I hate Pride or I hate Black History Month. You all want the most blatant examples to shield you from your subtle shit. No, it is the way in which when a black person comes in that room, when a black man walks past you, do you tighten up? When you see a group of black kids outside, do you automatically get cautious? Do you call the police? When you see a group of gay people, being amongst themselves, having fun or doing whatever, do you automatically shake your head or turn the other way or try to avoid them like they're a fucking cancer? These are the real questions. And see, I think it's funny how straight folks like to opt in and opt out when they want to, quote unquote, be involved, right? So when your favorite celebrity does something homophobic and gay people speak up against it, like Dave Chappelle being a fucking homophobe and a transphobe, you all get quiet. But then when you see a gay person that you like RuPaul, and you decide to say, okay, now I feel like I can opt in. That is the same shit that white people do with us, where they will be silent on the discrimination happening in black folks, but then any other time they are, yes, we love you. It's like when the white girls get the black boyfriends, but then when issues happen in the black community, black men, they get quiet and they say, oh my God, this is too much. I don't know what to say. I don't know. But you didn't know what to say when you was in that bed yesterday? Oh, okay. The BBC didn't? Oh, okay. You knew that though, right? Oh, you knew when to do that. But see, when black women call that out and name that fetishization, then, oh, you're bitter, you're a hater. Wait a minute. No, we're just trying to keep things even, right? Community, right? And here's the reason why a lot of people get away with this. And this is why a lot of folks in community do. Because there are black queer people in our community that do allow transphobia to exist. There are white gay people in our community that are racist in our LGBTQ community that let other people think it's okay to make racist remarks and have double standards. We have people in our community that are quote unquote identify, but they're not in community with us. They're not in solidarity with us. They do not speak out against the issues impacting the rest of the community. They cherry pick when they want to opt in and when they opt out. They got the dick in community. Oh yes, they'll fucking suck and do what they want to do and go to the parties and be on the dating apps. But when it comes to protecting our people, when it comes to speaking up for our people, they opt out because it does not benefit them. There is a proximity to hyper-masculine gay men where folks just think that the closest you are to straightness, the better you are. We know what this looks like, Black people, when we see Black folks, the colorism of it all. You know, the lighter you are, the closest in proximity are, you are to white people and white things, people think you're better. There are people in our community that play the same game. The closer they are to straight people, the more proximity they have to straight folks, they think that they're better. And we got to name that. We got to name that. Because that's the issue that sets us back. When we think about Black folks, right, the issues we have as a community, some of those issues are happening with folks that look like us but are not in community with us. They go out their way to align themselves with the state and with problematic institutions to further disrespect us at our own peril for their own benefit. They're thinking individualistic rather than collective. And we see this with various situations. When I think about Philadelphia, there are so many people in Philadelphia that's from Philadelphia that screw this city over more than others. They're the ones letting developers come in here and tear down our neighborhoods and gentrify our blocks. They're the ones pocketing money at the expense of our own community centers and rec centers and opportunities. They're the ones benefiting from the city's own demise. They are going for, I'm going to get mine mentality. A lot of them don't even live in Philadelphia anymore. They're from here and they use that shit, but they don't live here anymore. A lot of them live in the suburbs. They don't pay taxes in Philadelphia County. But they play into the guilt. They play into the guilt. It is emotional manipulation. It's terrible. And we don't speak up enough about it. That's got to change. That's got to change. That's got to change. For sure. Because we're never going to get free as a people. We won't get free until we're all free and until we all recognize the role that we play in this liberation. So, on to other things that's been going on. Y'all know I love Broadway. And you all know that I love me some Audra McDonald. I've been singing her praises for weeks now. You know, ever since I saw Gypsy, I've been in love with that musical. But I've been in love with Audra McDonald. And a lot of you all noticed that you're like, oh, goodness, like, I've been listening to the podcast and Ernest been talking about Audra and this latest situation that's been going on, got everybody talking, right? Let me tell y'all something about Audra McDonald. She, if you didn't know this already, a lot of y'all have read up on her. She does not get enough praise. She is so underrated. She's been in Broadway for like over 30 years. She is a legend. She's a veteran. This woman has been in the game for decades. Okay? Decades. She's been winning Tonys since she's been in her early 20s. Since is now in her 50s. And she's still she might win a Tony next week at the Tonys. Her 7th one, and make history again. She's starring in the King Lear of Broadway musicals. Gypsy. She's playing Mama Rose, one of the most iconic Broadway roles ever. And she's the first Black actress to play on a Broadway revival of this character. Okay? And so here comes Patti LuPone, who I've admired Patti LuPone for quite some time. Patti LuPone is also a Broadway legend in her own right. She has 3 Tonys. Okay, not bad, not bad. She's the original Broadway actress who played Evita. She's also won the Tony for Best Actress 30-something, 20-something, nearly 30 years later in the Broadway revival of Gypsy, playing Mama Rose. And then she also won a Tony Award for Best Featured Actress for her role in the revival of Company. So, Patti LuPone is a legend in her own right. However, Patti LuPone has had a history of being microaggressive, being a racial antagonist, and just being downright diva. And not a diva in the jokingly way, but just being mean. And she did an interview with New York Magazine, it was a New Yorker. The New Yorker, my bad. The New Yorker. And she basically disrespected 2 Black Broadway legends. Keisha Lewis, who recently won the Tony for Best Featured Actress in a Musical for her performance in Hell's Kitchen. She also has been on Broadway for many years. She was on, she was in Dreamgirls when she was 18 years old. She has starred in several other productions since then, and she finally won a Tony after many years on the Broadway stage. So she's a legend in her own right. Well, Patti LuPone referred to her as a bitch, literally called her a bitch, in this interview for The New Yorker last week, criticizing her because Keisha Lewis spoke out towards Patti LuPone last year when there was a lot of drama regarding Patti LuPone complaining about Hell's Kitchen making a lot of noise. So Hell's Kitchen is at a theater that's it's connected to a theater that Patti LuPone was playing in. She played in a Broadway play called The Roommate, and she was in that musical with Mia Farrow. Not musical, that play. Hell's Kitchen is right next door, and it's a musical. And she complained about it being very loud and very noisy, so much that she complained to the sound mixers and designers. They was able to fix the quality issue, and she sent them flowers and a letter back. But then after that, she went on to continue to throw shade publicly at the Hell's Kitchen, not signing a fan who had a Fan's Kitchen playbill. They wanted her autograph, and she said, "No, I'm not going to sign it. They're too loud and too noisy." And this clip went viral, and Keisha Lewis went public about how this was just such a microaggression and how Patti LuPone is just not a girl's girl, but not also somebody that's in community, right? And she spoke out about it and complained about it, rightfully so. Well, Patti LuPone later, because she has had this reputation of being a very tell like it is, hold no punches personality, called Keisha a bitch. And then threw shade at Audra McDonald and even tried to throw shade at her performance in Gypsy, which many are hailing is one of the best, performances and renditions of Gypsy, of the Mama Rose performance. I mean, powerful performance. I don't know I've seen Gypsy, I've seen several reenactments of Gypsy. And I've liked Patti LuPone's version. I liked her version. I thought it was great. I love how she sings Everything's Coming Up Roses. I remember listening to the Broadway, cast album, and loving her version. Bernadette Peters played in Gypsy, and I like Bernadette Peters' version of some people. Like, I love everybody's version, but to be honest, I just can't help but say Audra McDonald gives it a different life, a different energy, a reimagining of that character, what it means, what it feels like. It's just a different boost of energy. Her performance of Rose's Turn is the best Rose's Turn I've heard. I've heard Ethel Merman. I've heard Bernadette Peters. I've heard Amanda Staunton, who did the West End version. I've heard Patti LuPone's version. No one sings Rose's Turn as powerful, as bold, as electrifying as Patti LuPone. No, sorry. As Audra McDonald. Audra McDonald sings Rose's Turn the absolute best. Every syllable, every diction, every cry, every yell, every high note, every cadence is astounding. Nothing beats it. It is arguably probably the best live Broadway performance I've ever seen in my life. It is not just the best Rose's Turn of Rose's Turns. It might be the best Broadway musical performance ever. If she performs at the Tony Awards next Sunday, you all should watch the Tonys next Sunday. It is going to be June 8th. Okay, we should all watch it. Okay, fam? If they let her perform that, I promise you, everybody is going to get the fuck up in that theater. She is going to walk away with that Tony Award. And if she don't, everybody should get up and leave. I think that Patti LuPone's disregard to Audra McDonald is actually going to secure the bag for her to win. Right now, the fight is between her and Nicole Scherzinger for Sunset Boulevard. Patti LuPone is so shady. She went to Sunset Boulevard. She's been campaigning for Nicole Scherzinger. This is the one from the Pussycat Dolls, who is now playing Desmond Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard, another iconic performance. Patti LuPone, fun fact, played on Sunset Boulevard, the West End version. She was beefing with Andrew Lloyd Webber. This was over 30 years ago. Patti LuPone was supposed to play Norma Desmond in the original Broadway version of Sunset Boulevard, which is from Andrew Lloyd Webber. The West End version was in London. Patti LuPone played there. She had a contract that was supposed to have her perform in the United States as well when they crossed the Atlantic for Broadway. That did not happen. Fun fact, Nicole Scherzinger played in Sunset Boulevard, the West End version first, the new revival that then crossed over to Broadway, and she played, right? Well, what happened is that I guess Andrew Lloyd Webber was not a fan of Patti LuPone's performance of Norma Desmond, and in fact replaced her with Glenn Close. So Glenn Close played Norma Desmond on Broadway. And so there's never been a North American performance of Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard because there was a massive settlement. We don't know how much the money was, but it was a massive settlement. And part of the agreement was that Patti LuPone was not to play Norma Desmond on Broadway. I think that was a part of the settlement. So she got money. It was major. And she had a long time beef with Andrew Lloyd Webber ever since that happened. And you got to remember, Patti LuPone has played some iconic characters. I mean, she played Anything Goes. She plays Evita. She played on Sweeney Todd when they had a revival of that. She played, I believe she played in Cats. Like Patti LuPone is Broadway royalty, right? So, interesting enough, Glenn Close did take up Norma Desmond. This is back in the 90s. And Glenn Close wins the Tony for Best Actress in a Musical for her performance in Sunset Boulevard. She was outstanding. And you could go look up Glenn Close, performing what is one of my favorite musical performances? And all the other nations, there's nothing I can do it. And then it is a great performance. I'm actually going to tell y'all what that song is because Glenn Close performing that as well from Sunset Boulevard is also another phenomenal performance. As If We Never Said Goodbye. That is a song. And With One Look is also good. But Glenn Close singing As If We Never Said Goodbye is one of the most stunning performances ever. Another great performance, okay? She won the Tony for her original performance in 1995. And she starred as Norma Desmond in the original 1994 Broadway production of Sunset Boulevard and the revival in 2017. Glenn Close in that performance is stellar. So, yeah. But to be clear, there's been a lot of love towards, Nicole Scherzinger for this performance. A lot of people's been hyping it up. A lot of people are saying that she and Audra McDonald are the going head to head for this Tony for Best Actress. If Audra McDonald wins, it'll be her 7th Tony. If she loses, she'll still be the most awarded Tony actress with 6. Tony performer ever. No one has 6 Tonys. No Tony performer has that many Tonys. A lot of people think she is the front runner. Audra McDonald is. I think she is. I hope she wins. I think what Patti LuPone was doing was building up even more. Like, there has been a campaign to try to stop Audra McDonald from getting the 7th Tony. But I think after the recent controversy, I think that Tony voters might actually feel inclined to vote for Audra McDonald even more, to make a statement loud and clear about the disrespect. And I think people are reminded that even a Black woman like Audra McDonald, who's at the prime of her career, who's doing incredible performances, who's killing it, that even at that level, you can still be disrespected and disregarded. And I think if the tables were turned and a man would have said the things that Patti LuPone would have said, Broadway community should have came up. 500 Broadway talent wrote an open letter calling out Patti LuPone's behavior, naming other issues in Broadway around the disrespect of talent, that they said enough's enough. And that put Patti LuPone in a position that she had to formally apologize. And she never apologizes, really, for anything. But this put her in a position where she felt like she had to finally humble herself and speak out. And that's what pressure will do. Pressure makes diamonds. So, sometimes speaking out can make people be better. And so she acknowledges that. And so for all of those fans, right, those Broadway fans that tried to defend her and say, oh, leave Patti alone, Patti's just being Patti, oh, people are too sensitive, yada, yada, yada. Patti realized she fucked up. And now she's trying to work on amending that and improving that. So I'm here for that. I'm here for that. Yeah. So moving along, this week in music, there's a lot going on in music. But first of all, let me just shout out the fact that Taylor Swift officially owns the masters to all of her music. So now I can listen to the original version of her albums and I feel guilty. Reputation, Taylor's version, is still coming. But now we don't have to hear her try to recreate her last album, her first album, because she's been, many years removed. But there will be a Reputation Taylor's version that is still coming. And shout out to her remaking all her music anyway, because the beauty of the fact that she's been able to make platinum hits and transform previous music to new music is just beautiful. And we didn't know when she was going to be able to, but she's been able to get the money. We don't know how much she paid for her masters to get them back, but now she owns her original music. And we're happy to see it. We're happy to see it. It doesn't get any better than that. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy that she owns the rights to her music. Because as fans and as a Swiftie myself, I'm not obsessed, but I like her. It's good to see. So kudos to Taylor. Speaking of good music, Miley Cyrus's Something Beautiful album, y'all. I liked it. Thumbs up. I've been listening to it throughout this past weekend, and I'm a fan. I really, really like this album. This is a very cohesive album. She's having fun. There's a lot of fun songs on this album. I like Easy Lover. It is not the remake of the Phil Collins Genesis, but I love Easy Lover. This new song, I love that Easy Lover. That is a banger. She's got a lot of bangers on this album. Very cohesive, very reflective. And I love that these are some long-ass songs. She's got Naomi Campbell feature on the song. She's got Brittany Howard on the song from Alabama Shakes. She's got some really good, meaningful features. They're not too many features, but they're meaningful. She has interludes. She really does her big one. And I really love how long these songs are. She's got 5-minute songs and 6-minute songs. She really had an artistic journey with this album. And it's a visual album and everything. But Miley Cyrus is really in her artistic bag. She's come a long way, but she's definitely found her groove. And I just love how this album is very reflective, very mature, very grown. I mean, you could just see the growth in her. And I can appreciate that. I can appreciate an artist that challenges themselves. I can appreciate an artist that wants to continue to further their brand and further their musical identity. Like, you can't hate that, So I'm really happy for her. I'm really happy for this album. And I definitely can see it getting nominated for Album of the Year. I think the Recording Academy likes Miley. She's been getting Grammys left and right. She won for Flowers, Record of the Year. She won 2 Most Wanted. She won alongside Beyonce recently in the country category. She's consistently winning Grammys now. I feel like the industry finally has embraced her. And yeah, I'm a fan. I'm really a fan. I really, really like that album. I have no complaints. So far, I think the fight is going to be between Mayhem and Now Something Beautiful. Album of the year. So far, those are the two right now ducking for it. Those are the two for me. Those are the two front runners. I like Mayhem by Gaga. I like that. That was strong. And I like Something Beautiful. Something Beautiful is really poetic and very beautiful. And I just feel like she's pushing the genre forward as far as pop music goes. So kudos to Miley Cyrus. I'm a big fan.
So there's been a lot going on in the TV world. There's a lot of shakeups. Announcements of new shows coming, new shows going. The show Laid, which I never got a chance to really get into, but they're not even going to have a season 2. So now I feel like I don't need to watch it. But there's also this show on Netflix called She the People, which is a Tyler Perry production. We'll start there. We'll start there. And there was a lot of controversy with this show. It's on Netflix. One of the producers is the former mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms. And it's the lead actress is Terry J. Vaughn, who's really good. She's a good actress. And she finally got an opportunity to have a leading role, because in the past, she's always been like the funny girl, the side girl. She was the one on the Steve Harvey show who was dating Cedric the Entertainer. She used to call him Ceddy with the little sweet voice. And, she was a supporting actress type of character. Well, the show is basically, there's going to be a lawsuit. It's being sued. And a lot of people, it's interesting because some people really thought this concept was a really good show, but there is now legal heat. So She the People, there's a lawsuit between Tyler Perry and Netflix. They're being sued by a political strategist named Amy Allison, who filed the lawsuit claiming that the show violated the intellectual property or the IP of her nonprofit by the same name. She's the one who founded She the People. So if you was wondering, have I heard She the People before? Yes, She the People came together in 2018. It was basically censoring Black women and women of color to run for office. It's an advocacy organization, and it really works to amplify political voices and of that nature. So this She the People, I heard about it, a couple years ago. And I remember it went viral for just, a lot around Kamala, but just also, oh my goodness, Stacey Abrams. They were amplifying all these different, Black women who were running for office. And so I remember hearing about She the People, the actual organization. Well, now they're suing Tyler Perry and Netflix, and also the actress Terry Vaughn. And that got me shook, because I was like, well, why are they suing the actress? Because normally they sue the producers, the execs. Well, this is the tea. They're saying that Terry Vaughn collaborated with Allison on a docuseries based on a nonprofit's causes and issues. And then she later worked on Tyler Perry's series, which she says borrowed, allegedly, from that concept. And so I'm going to read exactly what the complaint says. Quote, "The series echoes many of the same themes regarding Black women's experiences in politics that Miss Allison addresses through her activism under the She the People mark, albeit a slightly different format," the complaint says. With a lighthearted and comedic touch, the series trailer shows the newly elected lieutenant governor confronting a number of issues likely to resonate with women of color. Now, Tyler Perry did do a trademark on the show's name. The request was denied because of the fact that there might be confusion with Allison's brand. So he did try to file a trademark on the show's name. But she has it already, the nonprofit, so he could not do that. That request was denied by the courts. Allison hasn't really commented directly on the show itself, but she did throw some shots in her IG reel, which I got a good chance to see, basically saying, the world is full of people who wish they had good ideas, so put your paperwork in place and prepare to protect the soul of what you've built. Shots fired. Look, this is just my opinion. I'm not the judge. I'm the jury. I'm not in the courts. But she does have a case. The fact that they would even name the show She the People is a red flag. The fact that Terry Vaughn worked with her on a documentary series. Now, mind you, that this show was not a documentary series. It is a TV drama series, TV show type of energy. There's too much coincidences here. Like Allison was going to work with her and collaborate with her on a docuseries based on that actual program, like her actual organization. And then you're going to turn around and work with Tyler Perry later and do a show with that same name that centers around Black women in office. Like, yeah, that's just sloppy. There's so many Hollywood stories. That I hear like this all the time. And I got a couple of my own, but I'm not ready to tell y'all that though. But there are a lot of ideas where I have heard horror stories of all kinds of stuff, and it's traumatic. It's traumatic. I've heard all kinds of crazy stories, and yeah. This is what happens in Hollywood. But shout out to her for having the trademark and the copyright of her own ideas. Like, we love to hear it, and I'm happy that she is owning her work, because that's important as well. So we're gonna keep an eye on that lawsuit, see if there's any updates. But all I'm gonna say is, it's looking like she got a case there. So moving on, I do want to talk about, the Diddy trial, how it's been televised. I don't have much to say. Honestly, I'm at the point where I'm just ready for them to hurry up and get with the damn verdict. There's just too many people popping up out of the blue with opinions, and the case has become a circus, which we knew there was going to be a circus element to it, but I just really don't care. I care about the victims. Of course, I want justice for victims, right? But I'm really annoyed with a lot of the salaciousness, because as somebody who's looking at the actual transcript from, the trial thus far, what people are cherry picking and taking out of these transcripts, or even just completely blatantly just giving out misinformation, is just so harmful and reckless. And it's just so biased. And at this point, to anybody following this trial, you already know how you feel. There's no such thing as objectivity. At this point, there are people who just like Diddy and don't believe women and just don't care. They like him and they think supporting and protecting Black men mean defending abusive men like Diddy. He's abusive, okay? That is a fact. He abused a woman. He's been accused of abusing several other people, but we know for a fact he's abusive to women, okay? That's a fact. What is interesting is that there is no amount of evidence that's going to make people change their minds. I think he did something wrong. I don't care whether the jury finds him guilty or not, because at the end of the day, Diddy has already proven himself, just in what we've seen, to be abusive. He's not on trial necessarily for abuse. He's on trial for a RICO case, which involves racketeering and orchestrated crime, organized crime. Basically, prosecutors have to basically make that connection. If they find out he's doing RICO or not RICO, whatever the case is, there is enough information that we do know that is factual that Diddy's abusive. And at that point, I don't support abusers. He's a liar. I'm not about it. So the crazy part is that he sat up and acted like Cassie. When Cassie accused him of abusing her, he said all of it was not true. And then when the video leaked that showed the fact that he literally did abuse her, then he wanted to come out with an apology. So you want us not to believe anything about Cassie. And then thank God the video gets leaked. Then the video gets leaked. And then now a lot of people did begin to go, whoa. I believed her the first time. I just felt like, why would she be so elaborate about an incident like that if there was no proof to it? Like, she just made all of that up. You just think a whole something. The fact that he even settled as fast as he did, the way he did it, come on. But at the end of the day, we live in a society where there are men, other abusive men, who feel like protecting another abuser is going to protect them, because if that man gets held accountable, that then gives the agency to other women or victims, women or male or in between, whatever the case is, that they will speak up too. And so there's a culture of, if I'm not going to say anything, you're not going to say anything. We got to keep abusers are going to protect abusers. So I'm not even in the mindset anymore of arguing with people. I just want to see how this is going to play out in the courts. Even if he's found not guilty for RICO, he's still an abuser. I don't care. I just don't see this man worth my attention, my investment of money, or any support moving forward. I don't give a fuck. Like, that's where I stand on it. Some of you all that want to have all these stupid, obtuse debates and conversations, just say that you don't give a fuck. Just say that you might have been in a situation where you was abusive to a woman and you're afraid of what this is about you because now you're projecting. Just say that. It's so simple. All this devil's advocate, this, that, and the third, you just say you don't believe it. Okay? Because at the end of the day, none of these people are perfect. But what's funny is that everyone always wants victims to be perfect. But yet the men that do the harm can be allowed to be flawed and misguided. So for all of the empathy for Chris Brown, despite how fucked up he consistently is, all of the grace, all of the nuance that you give Chris Brown as an abuser, you seem not to have any of that grace for a victim. That, this victim could not have been in love with the man who abused her, because that's human nature. That we know that they had a romantic relationship, and while this man did harm her, there was an element of her who did love him too, and that there were not always just a dark cloud. There was sometimes sunshine, because that is a complicated situation, and relationships and love is complicated. But somehow women have to be perfect. Victims have to have absolute perfection. Like, there could be no confusion. Everything is black and white. But yet that same black and whiteness cannot be given to abusers and those who cause harm. That there can't be any level of nuances there, right? I will never say that, hey, R. Kelly allegedly was a victim of sexual abuse, that he was traumatized, that Chris Brown witnessed the abuse of his mother at a young age, and that some of that trauma carried on to his youth and his adulthood. That is true. Like, I'm never going to discount those experiences of those black men. However, there was a part in which help should have been provided. Accountability should have been provided. That just because you dealt with that type of trauma does not give you the license or the agency to then perpetuate that to other people. Because not every person who is abused becomes an abuser. Not every person who's a victim of harm then becomes a perpetrator of harm. And so we have to be very careful in trying to conflate and justify behavior like that, because that's not the case for other people. Some people seek healing, counseling, guidance. They just become better people. And so we don't need to be trying to act like we can let that be a scapegoat. And that's what people have done with Kanye West as well. Oh, he's got mental health issues, blah, blah, blah. Man, let me tell you something. Mental health issues does not make one become a blatant homophobe, a misogynist, an anti-black, Nazi-supporting, anti-Semite bigot. Like, that does not make you that. So be careful of how you become ableist, that you become that person that is now beginning to perpetuate the very problematic behavior and trying to conflate it with mental disease and mental health issues and things like that. Stop it. There is something wrong with Kanye beyond just a mental health struggle. Some of this is ego, y'all. Some of this is personal behavior. And to try to act like there should be no accountability whatsoever. Here's my thing. If you don't want him to go to jail, okay, fine, right? You don't want carceral state. Get that. Then how about sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up? We can do the option. We could tell Kanye, I need you to get off social media. I need you to take a chill pill. Go get some serious help if you have a problem, right? Because that's what I don't get. If you're saying a person has mental health issues, the recommendation should be go get help. This man is worth millions of dollars. So there's no excuse for him not to seek a level of professional help. That's it. Like there's no, the fact that you all want music from this man and you want him to be out here in public with what you consider to be a very problematic, chronic mental health crisis is disgusting and barbaric. And see, that's how I know people are not actually believing what they're saying. Because if you are a true fan of Kanye and you really think that what's wrong with him is connected to mental health issues, then you would not actually prescribe him to be on anybody's stage or anybody's studio. The same way, I was a big Britney fan, okay? Britney Army all day. I love Britney, okay? Britney Spears is one of the best pop stars of all time, okay? One of the best of all time. She's incredible. When she was at the peak of her career, she was unstoppable. I tell my students all the time, like they talk about Taylor Swift, and Taylor Swift is an incredible pop star as well. But I tell them, let me tell you something. What Taylor is doing right now, Britney used to do that. Real fans know. Anybody who is over the age of 30 knows the impact of Britney Spears. Okay, Britney Lynn Spears was, to be honest, her level of fame, I don't even think any of the pop girls that are out now could ever get where she was at. The level of media attention that Britney had, the girls don't even have that. Britney walked so they can down take a leap. They don't even get that. Like Taylor Swift gets some paparazzi, and I'm not saying she don't get any, but the level to which Britney was getting attention, this woman was the Forbes highest paid celebrity, male, female, you name it. She was that girl. No one is touching that Britney at her prime peak. None of these white pop girls out right now are Ariana Grande, Gaga. They're big and they're massive. Okay, they are. But what Britney had and where she was at, the way in which people bought albums, the way that people bought concert tickets, the way that she was on everything all the time. She was in movies. She was on TV shows, music. But listen, all of that being said, when there was issues with Britney, I was telling the girls, leave Britney alone. And I didn't want to see Britney. When I saw Britney do Give Me More, and I saw that performance at the MTV Music Video Awards, I was like, oh shit. And the real fans remember that. That Give Me More performance, y'all remember that? With that weird wig she had on? Listen, I like Britney, but I was listen, Blackout, the album, is iconic, okay? Blackout is up there. Is it my favorite Britney album? It might. I like In the Zone, though. Real Britney fans know In the Zone is that album, too. Circus is, too. Justice for Circus. Maybe Blackout is it my... It's tough. I feel like In the Zone is my favorite Britney album. But then, ask me another day. Pride Month, Blackout's my favorite album. I change roles. But my top three, in no particular order, is In the Zone, Blackout, Circus. Those are my top three favorite Britney albums. Okay? Depending on my mood, In the Zone is number one and Blackout's number two. But sometimes Blackout's number one and In the Zone is number two and Circus is definitely number three. But those are my three favorite Britney albums. Okay? Just don't put that out there. But when I saw that Give Me More performance, I said, yeah, something's going on. Something's going on and my girl needs a break. And she took a good break and then came back with Circus. And that Circus album, what a comeback that was popping. But things clearly wasn't really all the way there. And so it got a little scary again. And then, here we are. But Britney don't need to make any more new music, okay? Britney, I will listen to her greatest hits until my last days. I will forever be a Britney fan. I will enjoy her music. She's not doing music like that anymore. It's okay. She gonna stay in that mansion. She gonna dance for us. She
She's sexy dancing around the house. She feel like Britney Spears. She's going to do what she's going to do. She's going to live her best life. I just want her to be alive. I want her to be healthy. I want her to have her money. I want her to be good. That's all I want for my fave. That's how y'all need to be with Kanye. Y'all need to be like that with Kanye. Y'all need to have that Britney moment with Kanye. We don't know what's all going on, but we know away from the spotlight is best for her. Away from the spotlight is best for him. And that's all I'm going to say on that. Speaking of disappointments, I didn't know I was going to revisit this, but it keeps coming up. I'm not really crazy about Mark Lamont Hill on Joe Budden's podcast. I just think this is just such a bad move. He did an interview recently about Kid Cudi, talking about Kid Cudi and Joe Budden's show, and was basically trying to, suggest in so many different ways that, some type of street code about not calling the police, that contacting authorities about what Diddy did, there's other ways to handle it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mark. I know that you're abolitionists and, you're Marxists that had a Maybach at one point in time, I imagine. I just find there to be just so much tone deafness in the realities of the situation that we're dealing with somebody, a billionaire, or a man close to being a billionaire, a powerful man like Diddy. And this man got his car blown up, allegedly, by Diddy. And you're over here talking about it could have been handled a different way. What other way, outside of, violence, that would have handled this situation a different way when we're dealing with a man of that kind of level of power and that level of magnitude? You don't think authorities should have been contacted? You just think, what should he have done? See, going on this podcast has made him, I don't know. This is a text. I don't know what the Democrats are doing. I'm not talking about Marcus being a Democrat, but just been this weird thing lately where a lot of these progressive, educated men are trying to enter ignorant ass spaces thinking that they're going to break new ground. As somebody who recognizes power and positioning, one would argue, well, why are you on the Piers Morgan show? I go on the Piers Morgan show because the Piers Morgan program and these Hotep types of podcasts, right? There's a different level of audience that in some ways, what is your role? Are you there to disrupt and agitate? Or are you intentionally there to try to find common ground? I'm not on those shows to find common ground. I'm on those shows purposefully to take up space and to have a record straight. And I'm not trying to be in community with these people, because the people, most of them on the show, are white, or they're people who align themselves with white supremacy ideals. Like they're Trump supporters, basically. And they may not be white. They might be black. They might be brown, whatever, right? I'm there to take up space. I'm there to disrupt. I am there to actively agitate. And I'm incentivized to do so. It makes good programming, but it also provides I'm very clear on who the ops are. It's very clear what my target goal is to do. Mission accomplished. But the problem here with the Joe Budden podcast and that type of platforms, right? I call them the barbershop talk spaces, is that you're in a space with men that look like you. These are men that are intentionally ignorant. Intentionally, because at a certain point, the things that they're saying, they're asking, this is just how they feel, and they choose to be loud and wrong because of their own personal bias and their own personal insecurity. And we have to be honest as a society that there are people amongst us that are invested in being woefully ignorant, because to know the truth would make them have to reckon with things they're not ready to reckon with.
Let me say that again. There are people that choose to be woefully ignorant because they don't want to have to reckon with aspects of their lives and who they are because it will cause them discomfort. There are people that choose to be ignorant because they don't want to address the real truths that they have to reflect, which is why people are protective of abusers like Chris Brown and Diddy and all these folks, because to acknowledge that will then make them have to question everything around them, which is what they don't want to do because they will have to live with some uncomfortable truths that they're not ready to address. I know men like the men on the Joe Budden podcast. They're not dumb. No. They're not dumb like you think they are. They're very aware. Let me tell you, 15 years in the Philadelphia barbershop told me more about black men than any other experience socially. It wasn't fraternity. It wasn't college life. It was being in a space with a different level of class of black men. You have black men with doctorates. You have black men that are high school dropouts. You have black men that are in their 70s and 80s. You got black men that are 18, 19 years old. The level of experience and understanding men in this space, and it's not just black men, but any men, but from talking in my community, I realized how much 15 years of seeing these men age, some of them, how they evolve in their thinking. I have seen men that I met in 2010 at that barbershop that I go to still to this day that come in there hyper homophobic, and that's not a black thing. That is just men. It don't matter what race, to be honest, but will come in there with homophobic talking points. I was 18 years old at the time, and there were men that came in there and had all types of assumptions about why I was gay or how I was gay. And I would hear them say things and I would just be like, that ain't it, right? And then some of these same men, right? Because I can think of two examples. One of those men end up having a child that maybe at that time I think was maybe 3 or 4, that's now about to enter college, and that child is queer. And they use they, them pronouns. And this is a man that literally I saw that was always, I raised my children in a Christian household. My son this, my son that. He played football. He played basketball. Let me tell you something. That boy would come get his hair cut. And I never say anything. And he would come to the shop and he would always look at me. And it was a look of like a connection. Like there was they looked at me like he was rooting for me when I was in these rooms having these debates in the shop. And he was like maybe I think around 15 or 16 at the time. And he would just look at me like silently agreeing. And his father would be a whole asshole in the shop and say all kind of things. And I could just look at his son. I could just tell his son had a secret. And it was not my place to spill it. That was not my business. I never did. But fast forward to now, that child is now 19. And I saw him back at the shop not too long ago. And he was just telling me about his college experience. And pretty much, he uses he, him, and they, them. And he is very much gender fluid and all of these things. And I was like, well, how's your parents taking it? And he was like, my dad was just, he's just accepting it. He's just, he's just navigating it. And in my mind, I was like, And through time, his dad has definitely not been the same homophobe I knew 15 years ago. His dad's a lot different now. He talks different. He's thinking different. But what it showed and told me is that in many cases, for some of these men, until it happens to you, until it comes to your doorstop, you best not you dare assume what someone else is doing until you have to come to terms with it. So many assumptions about parenting and upbringing and all these things. And by the way that this man talked, he thought he was going to engineer a cis-het son. And his son was none of that. Son played sports. His son did all the things. But when his son got to college, his son was the person that I knew his son was many years before he did.
And so I say all this to say that people will learn when they feel like they need to. People know the truth, but they can be in denial because they don't. Some part of me feels like he knew or sensed that his child was different, but he was fighting against it because of the fact that he did not want to come to terms with that reality. And so he had no other choice but to. And there's a lot of people in so many different avenues, not just with queer people and LGBTQI issues, but just with race, with class, with things, that they know the truth. They know how to seek it. And they just refuse to acknowledge it because they don't want to have to unpack other things. And so when I watched that show, I've seen some of the episodes. I don't watch too much of it, but I was, people was asking me about Mark and I was watching it. I can look in that room and I'm not going to name names, okay? I won't do that. But when I look at that room as somebody who's been in spaces like that, somebody in that group is wrestling with their sexuality. I'm not going to tell you which one it is or who it is. That doesn't matter. But somebody in there is wrestling with their sexuality. Somebody in that crowd, in that group, is an abuser. Maybe one or two of them is an abuser, have abusive traits. I'm not going to tell you which one it is. I'm not going there. Somebody in there has struggled with their masculinity. And I'm not even talking about with their sexuality, but just their masculinity, like how they see themselves and how they view themselves. Somebody on that show is struggling with that. Somebody on that show is struggling with their sexuality. Somebody on that show is struggling, is an abuser. And I'm not spilling no tea on who any of those people are. But if you watch that show and you listen to how each of them are talking and addressing certain issues, they are telling on themselves. Their level of defensiveness, their level of deflection, their level of obtuse thinking, that is what's happening in that show. When I went to my barbershop, 15 years, I have seen men in that shop, and I was like, that motherfucker is abusive. And then guess what? One of the men caught a case for domestic violence. And I knew the way he talked and the way he thought and the way he argued about women. I said, he's an abuser. I couldn't say that to him out loud, but I clocked it. I said, that man's an abuser. And then he caught a case. Another man in the shop just always had something to say about queer people, trans people, whatever. Bumped into this man at the neighborhood years later, and he basically came out to me, but didn't want no one to know. And I was like, it's okay, girl. I already knew, child. I already knew, baby. It's all right. Couple of dudes like that. I have seen it all, is what I'm trying to tell you. I'm so familiar with this space that I refuse to waste my time. In 2025, Ernest Owens, myself, I do not even go in the barbershop and argue anymore. Because I already know the personalities. I done been through that dance. 18-year-old me, 20-year-old me, 21-year-old me. Oh, I thought that I was in college. I thought I had to educate people and enlighten them. Middle-aged men know the truth. Middle-aged women know the truth. They just refuse to actually hold themselves accountable. I'm not arguing. I know they know the truth. Because what's funny is what you'll find out is that when you have certain conversations and you start trying to be the educator, they start feeling like, I know that. And they start telling you things like, oh shit, you know that? You knew about that? Oh, you know that word? You know that term? Oh, okay. Because they do. We're all humans. They're Googling. They're looking. They're peeping. They're like, what is gay porn? What's a top? What's a bottom? What's that? They're curious. They're humans. They're humans. But we live in a society that the patriarchy, which they uphold, is literally killing their creativity. It's really killing them. They keep talking about there's a male problem, a straight male problem within the voter population. No, it's not. The problem is that they are literally killing themselves by trying to uphold policies in a patriarchy that is suffocating them. The patriarchy does not benefit these men, especially men in the 21st century. Like, the patriarchy is putting pressure on them to uphold a lifestyle that the economy no longer sustains for them. See, where are all the steel jobs? Where are all the steel metal jobs? I mean, some of them exist.
Where are these big, huge, tough factory worker jobs exist? They don't exist, right? But these are jobs that we defined by masculinity. These were masculine, manly jobs. Well, what happens when the economy and capitalism does not actually align with the gender assignment of labor? Ooh, I'm getting real intellectual right now. That the economy itself has become demasculized. Like the emasculation of labor, I don't believe that, but I'm just saying hypothetically, the way in which we define labor, right, and work, and union work, right, created an economy that men perform masculinity through that type of labor. And what's interesting is as those jobs erode, a lot of the jobs that are now available are not considered as masculine as many believe. College educated jobs, scholarly jobs, this soft life labor that people talk about, right? So now look at them trying to create it in spaces that were not there prior. Tech bros, what the fuck is that? There was a time where computer science was geeky and nerdy and it wasn't considered masculine. Now they have to try to masculate tech. So now it's tech bro culture. It's like, what the fuck is that? But now they're trying to make that a new masculine industry, right? We already knew hip hop and music had a masculine tinge to it, but like even the producer culture, they're trying to continue to make this a masculine dominant industry, but women are starting to enter hip hop. So now what does that do for artistry and rap and what it looks like? So these industries, as gender equality or the attempt to create gender neutral spaces in all of these various industries, men are struggling to find an identity that's not connected to labor. What does masculinity look like if it's not labor is what they're struggling with. Ooh, I am onto something right now. We're going to savor this thought. I'm going somewhere with this. But that there is a connection here between masculinity and labor that is now being eroded. And so we now have a generation of men who don't have an identity of what masculinity looks like if it's not connected to these types of performances. They have not been able to see it. They're having an existential crisis right now. What do I wear? How do I talk? Right? Queer culture is becoming mainstream culture, right? These men that be like, oh, don't throw shade. I say, woo, woo. Because see, queer people, gender expressive people, gender expansive people like myself and others, we have always been able to embrace an identity that was beyond just our labor, but our creativity. The cishet patriarchy did not create a space for men to be creative and explorative beyond labor. So now they're having a crisis right now, politically. Male voters don't know what the fuck to do other than agitate the fuck out of women and everybody else. So now their labor and our identity is stopping women from having an identity, stopping queer people from having identity, right? Stopping everybody else from having anything because they don't have anything. They don't really understand who they are. They don't have an actual culture. The culture they've created is imploding before their very eyes. That's why they're holding on to football. That's why they're holding on. That's why they're holding on to football. Basketball, look what's going on with basketball right now. That's why they're holding on to all of these male figures of power. Donald Trump represents a certain type of masculinity that they want to keep and preserve. Diddy represents that, right? Powerful men in business, massive capitalists, right? They want to protect all of these types of men, not just in entertainment, but tycoons and tech bros and Elon Musk. They got to keep those symbols because they aspire to be those men. We're going to save that topic for something else. I am talking a lot, but I think you get what I'm saying. And so I say all this to say, bring it back to Mark Lamont Hill, you're going into a space where the people that you're talking to already know what's up and they're playing in your face. And you would be better off just calling them to the carpet and just being like, yo.
But instead, you're trying to still be a teacher to some grown-ass men. I refuse. I would rather educate, influence, and inspire young adults in community colleges where their minds are still ripe and open to listening to great ideas. I would rather influence and educate young people than waste my energy trying to educate grown-ass men for free. See, if I'm going to educate a grown-ass person, it's called consulting. You can pay me. You don't have to do what I say or take my advice if you don't want to, but you're wasting your money. But if you want some consultation that pays me at a decent, respectful rate, we can discuss that, okay? But for young people, I will always have time to mentor a young person or give a young person a piece of advice as my time permits. I can't do everything for everybody, but I strive to do so. You know, young people hit me up all the time for a Zoom call, you know, whatever. I will let a young person pick my brain. But you grown-ass adults that know better, but just want somebody to reaffirm your biases or confirmation bias, whatever, ching. Let me get an invoice. Let me send you my invoice. Let me run that bill by you. That's how I'm gonna move with grown folks moving forward. I just really feel like Mark is wasting his time, and I think a lot of us, these conversations are just, I just gotta pay it dust at this point. So that's my thought on that. And then less hilarious, very quickly. I talked about it earlier on the Breakfast Club. You know, Just Hilarious can just go. If somebody could just, when's her contract expiring? Can y'all just cut her by the end of this year, if not sooner? Because I don't know what she's bringing to the show at this point. And I think I won't even say the word sad, but what's disappointing is that Jess is literally perpetuating the same type of problematic, exclusive, evasive, disrespectful pathology onto others, the way that she experienced from men in this industry. It's nothing like seeing a woman who has been hit hard by sexism, misogyny, and all the things become that same person and perpetuate it on other women, whether they're cisgender or trans. But she's become the very bitter, cruel, evil person that was that man to her in this industry. And it's so sad to watch. It's so sad to watch. It's like, you're not going to get any prettier. You're not going to get any smarter. You're not going to get any more powerful going after vulnerable women that don't pose a threat to you. Why are you so threatened by transgender women? They do nothing to you. They don't care about you. They only talk about you when you throw shots. It's like, why feel the need to antagonize a population of people who don't give a fuck about you or don't even care about you? Why feel the need to continue to badger them and bully them? Like, I just don't get it. And so I've seen some of the antics, and I'm just kind of like, why? Why? Why does it matter? Why do you care? Before trans women were a mainstream topic that people was fixated on, Black women, cishet Black women, were already under attack. Trans women are not attacking. It's the patriarchy, it's the men. All this energy that women like Less Hilarious have to trans women would be better off fixating that energy towards problematic, troublesome men that actually are causing the harm. But everybody wants a scapegoat. Everybody wants a deflection. Everybody wants someone else to pin. And that's what we're seeing with Less Hilarious. So for me, I can't wait for y'all to wrap up the Breakfast Club, y'all. I really can. It's about time. The show, it's been a mess, but let's wrap this up, y'all. Let's hurry up and wrap this show up. That's my thoughts on that. And before concluding, like I said earlier, there's going to be some surprises coming up this June. This month is a month, there's going to be a big surprise. I really feel like June is going to be the month when this big announcement is going to come. It's going to be very soon. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And that's all I'm going to say.
but some good things are coming. And, for everybody who are now a new listener to this podcast, because so many of you all listen to the special edition. If you're a new subscriber, thank you for listening. Spread the word. Thank you all so much for just new subscribers. My day ones, y'all know who you are. Chris Bartlett, congrats on your award, Chris Bartlett. Candace, she's always around. My girl, Alana. Oh my God. Alana, still listening? I love me some Alana. I bumped into Alana at the Roots picnic when I was in that long ass line. And my girl Alana saw my struggle. She saw with her own eyes. Alana seen it. She seen the craziness. She saw me in that line and she was devastated, okay? Because she got her a VIP pass too and she was irked. We was irked together. And so when she saw people trying to gaslight me in these comments, she was like, not too much. Because he was in that line. We was there. And if you was not there, you shall not speak on it. Okay? She was there. So shout out to her. We love it. Core 200. Kelly's. Everybody. Just, of course, my little brother Jamarcus, who listens to this episode. Listen to my episodes every single time they drop. Nina, Amanda, or Dr. Parks. Dr. Parks if you're nasty. Joe, who just had a birthday. He's a Gemini. Good gracious. Happy birthday, Joe. Again. But to everybody who just listens to this podcast, day one listeners to newbies, just want to thank you all and just welcome you all to this experience. And as always, be well and be best.
Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.